the local governments are known.
Now, many companies take advantage of young workers.
First on 81, so how much?
Or 8 million. 8 million poor families are not supported. Credit stations. According to the statistics,
So that every citizen can have a minimum standard.
Hello friends! 全日本英語ディベート連盟審査委員長の矢野です。ここでは2016年12月、茨城県水戸市常盤大学高等学校で開催された第11回全日本高校生ディベート大会の模様が収録されています。この大会の論題は Resolve that the Japanese government should adopt a social security system that provides a basic income to all Japanese citizens. 日本政府は日本のすべての市民にベーシックインカムを給付する社会保障制度を採用すべきである。是か非か、そういう論題でした。ベーシックインカム、略して BI というのは多くの人にとってまだ耳慣れない言葉でしょうか。大人でもなんか確か福祉に関係あるななんていう程度で理解されている方も多いかもしれません。ベーシックインカムというのは収入などによらずどの国民にも一定の所得を国家が保障するという新たな福祉政策のモデルで、実際にフィンランドなどでも指導しつつあります。現在の日本の福祉政策では貧困対策、失業対策、公的年金、児童手当などさまざまな給付が設けられています。このディベートではそうした給付を基本的にすべて廃止し、ベーシックインカムに一元化すべきだというのが肯定側の立場となります。それに対し否定側は現行の福祉政策の維持を訴えることになります。2016年春から冬にかけてこの福祉政策をめぐる難しいディベートに高校生たちは取り組んできました。今や日本のほとんどの都道府県で県大会が開催されています。そしてさらに県を越えて地域大会であるブロック大会などもいくつか開催されるようになっております。当初はこんな論題難しすぎるのではないかという意見も大人たちからはありました。しかし蓋を開けてみると自分たちの未来に関わる問題として高校生たちは BI について自分から積極的に調べ議論する姿が日本の津々浦々で見られました。全国大会では県大会やブロック大会の入賞校64校が出場し BI について熱いディベートを繰り広げました。ここでは全国大会のうち準々決勝の1試合と決勝戦をご覧いただきます。試合の合間にディベートを学び指導する上でのポイントとなる事柄についていくつか解説してみました。解説抜きでご覧になることも可能です。ではまずは準々決勝からご覧ください。まずご覧いただくのは準々決勝の4試合のうち肯定側栃木県立宇都宮高等学校、否定側埼玉県立稲学園総合高等学校の試合です。では早速立論からご覧ください。
We will now begin this round with the affirmative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and Judges. My name is Yuta. We believe that the Japanese government should adopt a social security system that provides a basic income to all Japanese citizens. Plan we will provide 140,000 yen for adult and 50,000 yen for a child by introducing first, progressive income tax only on people whose annual income is over 3 million yen and raise the rate to 28%. Second, flat 50% inheritance tax. Third, raise 5% consumption tax. 81, save poor people, save poor people. Present situation. Current welfare system is not working. According to the Ministry of Labor, 68% of the poor people qualified for welfare benefit cannot receive welfare. The reasons are, first, very strict check. According to Kageki Sai in 2004, 84% applicants couldn't get even application forms in Kitakyushu City. To cut illegal recipient and vast cost, revised life protection law is focusing on reducing recipients. Second, many people are afraid of stigmatization. Just like Satsuki Katayama, many Japanese still regard getting welfare as shame, and their children are sometimes bullied, according to Tokyo. The life without benefit is harsh. According to Akata, 56 people died because they didn't have money to go to the hospital. And according to National Police Agency, in 1 year, over 4,000 people committed suicide because of poverty, and 45 students are starving to death, according to the Ministry of Labor. Fact. After plan, the 68% qualified people will be able to get 140,000 yen. 140,000 yen is larger amount of money than current first resident welfare benefit today. This will drastically improve their life and save many people. Importance. In 2014, a mother in Chiba killed her daughter and tried to suicide. She could not receive welfare and could not live anymore. Many single mothers had no choice but to enter sex industry. For many people, welfare benefit is the last resort to live. The social security system exists to help the weakest people in the society. Therefore, we have to introduce basic income. 82, safety net for future unemployment. Safety net for future unemployment. Present situation. Now, technology such as machines, automation, robotics, AI is replacing human jobs. According to Dan Milklovic, in the past 10 years, automation replaced 16% manufacturing worker in Japan. Also, in one electronics company, Foxconn, machines replaced 60,000 workers, according to BBC. World Economic Forum this year said, quote, in 5 years, technology will replace 7 million jobs in 15 richest countries. 2 million new jobs will be created, but in total, 5 million jobs will disappear, unquote. This is called fourth industrial revolution and quite different from the past because automation cannot create enough new jobs and more people will lose jobs. In Japan, the Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry says, quote, 7.3 million workers will be unemployed in 2030, unquote. This unemployment will accelerate in the future when AI exceeds human brain. Professor Osborne also predicts, quote, 49% of labor population will be replaced by AI in 10 to 20 years. However, present welfare benefit cannot cover a huge number of unemployment. In addition, unemployment benefit is given only for 330 days. Fact. Basic income guarantee minimum standard of living. So basic income can be a safety net for every single student. Stimit says, because of automation, all the profit goes to the top 1% executives. The money for basic income comes from the tax on such rich people. Importance. In 2007, 1,071 people committed suicide, 70% increase because of the unemployment caused by Lehman shock. Unemployment can happen to anyone, anytime. We need a sustainable solution to protect every student, and basic income is the only way. That's why Finland is considering basic income to reform the welfare system, according to BBC. The future must be unemployment is coming as soon as 5 years, so we need to change the welfare system now, so we are firm. Thank you.
Questions. First on 81. So, how much is the minimum cost of living?
Or 130,000 yen by cash, and we consider other exemption, and we can cover 100 by the 140,000 yen.
Right, okay,
I have evidence.
Okay, so please share later about it.
Okay.
And so in 81, so you said that parents killed their daughter, right?
Please again.
Parents killed daughter.
That is the one. Yeah.
So it is because cannot receiving public assistance.
Yes.
So okay, so the person is the evidence
Okay.
about it, and also on 82. So what was the present introduction rate?
Please again.
What was the present introduction rate?
production rate?
What is the robot's the present introduction rate?
Or I don't know, but surely, according to Ministry of Industry, 7.3 million workers will be unemployed in 2030 in Japan. Yeah, I have evidence.
Okay, and our company have enough money to introduce robots.
Yes, I have evidence that also government will subsidize. I have evidence.
Okay, so so only in industry robot can work, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So how many unemployment workers are there in Japan? How many unemployment workers are there in Japan?
In Japan, now in Japan, 16% manufacturing worker in Japan are from now happened.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, speakers.
肯定側は狭い意味での福祉政策にとどまらない日本のちょっと先の将来について考えさせる興味深いスピーチをしていました。今回の論題ではベーシックインカムとして何円支給するか、そしてどのような税金を財源として費用を捻出するか、これは肯定側が指定して良いことになっております。肯定側は月14万円を成年者に、5万円を未成年者にという政策を提案し、それにより2つのアドバンテージが得られると主張しました。1つ目は現行の福祉政策のうちとりわけ生活保護に焦点を当て、それが実際には極めて多くの貧困家庭に適用されていないということを問題視しています。結果として多くの貧困家庭が苦しんでいるのを自動的に一律に支給するベーシックインカムの方であるならば救うことができるのではないかというものです。第2のアドバンテージは大変興味深くユニークなもので、将来は人工知能 AI やオートメーションの普及で何百万人もが結果として失業することになる。現行の失業手当では最大でも330日しか支給されないので BI を導入することで今後生じる大量の失業者とその家庭を救うことができる、そういうものでした。日本の将来の福祉問題というと少子高齢化の問題がまずは頭に浮かびますが、こういった AI という斬新な切り口を取り入れることで、議論の幅を広げている点で感心いたしました。では対する否定側の立場はどのようなものでしょうか。続けてご覧ください。
Thank you, speakers. Question time has ended. We will now hear the negative constructive speech for 4 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Wakaba. DA1, burden to single mother families will increase. Burden to single mother families will increase. Present situation. According to Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication in 2010, there were 760,000 single mother households in Japan. Also, according to Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, they have 1.6 children on average. So there are 1.2 million children in total in those households. In fact, their life is supported by the government. According to Ministry of Health, 15% of the single mother, which means 114,000 people don't have a job because of illness, child care, and so on. So single mother use the public assistance system to receive 260,000 yen of supporting money every month. What more, they can receive 40,000 yen of tax exemption. So the present system is very efficient, effective, If we take this plan, since there are 1.6 children in single mother household, each house will receive 220,000 yen, 220,000 yen of basic income per month. According to Ministry of Health Code, about 60% of the welfare recipients living in city areas whose minimum living cost is 230,000 yen, 230,000 yen in case of a mother and 1.6 children, unquote. After the plan, most of them cannot afford this. Moreover, they will lose 40,000 yen of their exemptions. According to Mamaria, that news site that provides useful information for mother quote, this exemption exceeds almost 1.3 times of their average food cost, unquote. Their life will be much more severe. Importance, this is serious. Not only will the mother live a harsh life, but their children's future can be damaged too. According to Professor Michinaka Ryu of Kansai International University, quote, poverty of parents tend to be passed down to their children, unquote. It's strange that children's future is decided by their parents' situation, not by their own effort. DA2, the elderly will suffer more. The elderly will suffer more. Present situation. Now, Japan is facing serious lack of care workers. According to Ministry of Health as of 2014, 42% of visiting care workers and 23% of regular workers are working. Because of this, the elderly are suffering. According to Ministry of Health as of 2013, out of the people who care them, about 61% is their families and only 15% they are care workers. In fact, about 70% of family members who care them is also over the age of 60. This means now the elderly taking care of the elderly, which is now a social problem. In fact, this can even lead to murder cases. According to Tokyo newspaper, more than 400 murder cases occurred because of the exhaustion by caring elderly in the past 10 years. So even the present situation is serious. Effect. After the plan, 1 million care workers are likely to quit because 60% of them wish to quit even now they can get income by this plan. According to National Confederation of Trade Unions, 40% care workers feel the job is too busy, 30% are suffering from exhaustion. In fact, according to Ministry of Health in 2012, care workers' job quitting rate is 17%. In addition, nearly 40% of them quit in less than 3 years. If they receive basic income and have a safety net, the situation will surely be accelerated. Importance. This is urgent because the elderly who need care is increasing now. According to Ministry of Health as of 2015, 600,000 elderly live alone and the number is constantly increasing. In fact, according to Yomiuri newspaper, by 2025, 430,000 elderly will suffer from not receiving care. The elderly will actually suffer from by basic income, so we should not take this plan and decrease care workers. DA1, burden to single mother families will increase. DA2, the elderly will suffer more. Thank you.
We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masab. To your DA1. So how many of the single mothers right now are receiving welfare?
Receiving welfare, about 114,000 people.
114,000?
14,000.
And are they all receiving welfare, or are they just qualified for it?
98% of jobless single mother who get 260,000 yen of supporting money and 40,000 yen of tax exemptions.
Okay, please show us that evidence there. And how much money do the single mothers need? Not receive, but how much money do they need?
230,000 yen
And that is the living cost?
in the minimum living cost.
Okay, thank you. And we couldn't understand how serious this situation is going to be for those single mothers. Can you explain how serious this 10,000 yen decrease is going to be?
One more time, please.
Can you explain how serious the 10,000 decrease is going to be? A 10,000 lack.
Because now they can receive 260,000 yen and 40,000 yen tax exemption. So,
Yeah, how serious is the never mind. Let's go on to the next
They-
question. If you have evidence, please show us to it later.
okay.
To your DA2. So, what do you want to achieve by your DA2?
Sorry, one more, please.
What do you want to achieve by DA2?
The elderly will suffer more.
What do you want to achieve? That's what's going to be cost. What do you want to achieve by DA2?
Why do you ask me? What do you want to say? Sorry.
Question time has ended.
変打の試合形式では両チームとも2つまで論点を出してよいことになっております。否定側はここでは現行の福祉制度の方がより弱者を救えるというタイプの議論を2つのディスアドバンテージとして提出していました。最初のディスアドバンテージでは特にシングルペアレントの家庭に焦点を当て、現行よりも BI の方が支給額が結果として減り、結果としてよりそういった家庭が貧困になると議論していました。2つ目のディスアドバンテージでは BI が支給されることにより結果として老人たちの介護職のなり手がいなくなるという議論をしていました。これは過酷な労働環境で働いている介護職の一部は BI が支給されると働かなくていいということになり離職してしまい、そのしわ寄せが弱者である老人に行くことになるという議論でした。両方のディスアドバンテージとも大変よく調べられており、データも大変多く引用された良いディスアドバンテージであるとは思います。ただ否定側の議論全体として見た際には肯定側に比べると議論の幅が狭いという点も否めません。改善方向は2つありえます。一つは論点の組み合わせを考えるということです。やはり BI について考える際に否定論の王道ともいえる争点は財源です。BI を財政的に賄うことができるのかというディスアドバンテージと BI によって取り残される弱者についてのディスアドバンテージとを組み合わせるということもあり得たかもしれません。そうすることでより広い視野からの否定論になり得ます。2つ目の改善方向は2つの争点をつなぐような価値判断のための基準を意識することです。特定の弱者を問題にするのなら、なぜその弱者を他より優先しないといけないのか、そうした原則論を立論から提出しておくことで、これは単なる小さなエピソードではないんだよという説得力を出しやすくなります。では以上を踏まえて両チームのアタックをご覧ください。
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the negative attack speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Meek. First, 81. They said poor people will be saved by basic income, but as our constructive speaker said, single mother's minimum cost of living is 230,000 yen. And in addition, according to Professor Shigekawa Junko in Saitama University and Professor Yamada Tsuhiro in Keio University, if they live alone, their minimum cost of living is 190,000 yen per month. So basic income is not enough to live. And after the plan, so we cannot help poor people by basic income, so their point does not stand. Second, they said after the plan, suicide will decrease, but actually the number of suicide from economic reason is decreasing now. According to Ministry of Health, the number of decreased to half from its peak in 2009, so present situation has no problem. And third, they said there is a stigma in receiving public assistance. However, they do not have any exact cases of recipients actually give up receiving because of stigma. And in addition, even if there is stigma, there are many supporting money, such as child care allowance, so present situation is no problem and enough effective, so we should take this plan. We should not take this plan. Fourth, they said 68% of PUP do not get public assistance. However, in their evidence, the research in 1999, it's too old. The present situation is not serious, so their point doesn't stand. And AD2, I have against both of FD. Their plan is unrealistic because even if there is tax, it's extremely hard to keep enough tax revenue because taxpayer is decreasing. And yes, they said 49% of labor will take place in robots. However, if they will be fired, they can get another job, so they will not suffer. So their point doesn't stand. And next, if they will be fired, they can get support from their family, so they will not suffer. So their point doesn't stand. And they could not prove a company have enough money to introduce robot, and so they evidence don't say the money is not enough. So company cannot introduce robot. So worker will not be fired, and they will not suffer. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have questions from the affirmative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eisuke. First, you have 4 attacks on AD1 and 3 attacks on AD2 and 1 attack to our plan, right?
Yes.
Okay. As for the AD1, your first attack point, you said single mother will be suffered, and as for the single people, they need 190,000 yen to live, right?
Sorry, one more time, please.
You said the average cost for living is 190,000 yen, right?
Yes.
Okay, please share savings. And second attack point, you said the number of suicide is decreasing, so it's no problem, right?
Yes.
But how can you say that it will continue to decrease and the suicide will disappear?
One more time, please.
So how can you say that the number of suicide will continue to decrease? I think that since there are many people who commit suicide, we should take this plan because we can save these people.
There is a tendency, so number of suicide will decrease.
Okay, and in your third attack point, you said stigmatization. We don't have evidence about stigmatization, so our argument is not standing,
Yes,
right?
and
Okay.
even if there is a stigma and there are any supporting money, for example, child care allowance, so it's
Thank
no
you.
problem.
And in your fourth attack point, you said our evidence about capture rate is too old, right?
Yes, so no problem.
Thank you.
No.
And as for the AD2, in your first attack point, you said so if the people lose job, they can get another job, right?
Yes.
Okay. And second attack point, you said if the people lose jobs, they can be supported by their family, right? But
yes.
I think if the road rent or the road ready lose their job, they cannot receive money from family.
Sorry,
Because this family is completely depending on road rent or road ready to earn money. Sorry. And third attack point, you said it is unclear whether a company can utilize automation or AI or not, right?
Yes,
Okay.
because their evidence did not prove company has enough money to
Thank you.
introduce.
Question time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative attack speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Mashu. I'll take their point. First is about the DA1. One, no probability about damage for the single parents families. In the first place, according to the Ministry of Affairs, the average expenditure of single parents with 2 children is about 200,000 yen. But according to our plan, those kind of families can get more than 240,000 yen. So the basic income can completely cover the expenditure of single parents families. And they talked about like some exemptions, but actually the average life of the single parents family can be at least guaranteed. So we can say that anyway, the basic income can guarantee the life. Second, restricted basic income. Calculated from the data of Ministry of Health, only 5.8% of poor single parents can receive welfare benefit. And they said that 98% of single parents family can get welfare, but they are completely regarding the jobless single parents as same as the qualified single parents families. But that is completely different characters. So their calculation is not proper, and we can say that the current system is not working. So rather, to save them, we should do basic income. Third, not probably about the burden for single parents families. They're considering only about the basic income, but if we consider other supports, there are no problem. According to the National Tax Agency and other organizations and websites, total amount of additional support for single parents families are 94,000 yen. 94,000 yen in total. And if this one will remain even after plan, that means that the total number of support they can get, including basic income, is 284,000 yen in the case of single parents with 2 children. So there are completely no problem. And the fourth, no impact about the argument. According to G.com, Prime Minister Abe decided to introduce a new scholarship system for poor people for university in 2017, which doesn't need repayment. And the budget is already prepared. They talked about the chain of poverty, but as for such kind of problem, because those kind of situation will be improved, we don't have to worry about that. So moving on to the DA2. 1. No probability about the elderly suffering. Basic income will never cause shortage. According to the survey done by Kango Kyujin Nabi, most of K workers answer that the reason they work is contribute to society or to make use of their skills. And no one answered that the reason is earning money. And I checked the evidence, but their evidence is just talking about like 7% of K workers want to quit their jobs, and more than 50% of K workers may want to quit their jobs sometimes. So their evidence is not proper, and we should do basic income. Second, no impact about K-worker shortage. K-robots can cover that shortage. According to Saikei newspaper, K-robots can do simple work instead of humans, such as watching the elderly or helping the elderly walking or toilet. And actually, according to Kanagawa media documents, 80% of K-workers say that their burden decreased because of K-robots. So we can say that those kind of K-robots can be the help of K-worker shortage, and there was no impact. And let's further about their argument. According to the Ministry of Health, 10 years ago, there are 300,000 of care workers, but recently, there are 1 million of care workers. That means that care workers is really easy to increase. That means the number of care workers has high potential. So the shortage of care workers has less value because the care workers is increasing and can easily increase.
We will now have questions from the negative side for 2 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yui. And you have 4 attack on DA1 and 3 attack on DA2, right?
Yes.
And in your third attack, so you said something about 94,000 yen, but could you explain this more?
So, for example, additional medical support or additional housing support or support for water charge and resident tax or there are various kind of support for the single parents families. So if we calculate all of those these costs, these support, 94,000 yen will remain even after plan. So if we consider the together with basic income, that is completely enough for them.
So you talked about housing expenses, right? Well, will that remain after taking this plan?
No, not about housing assistance, but so if necessary, I will show you the calculation later.
Oh, okay, thank you. And in your sixth attack, you talked about care workers, why they started working there, why they choose this job.
Pardon me?
So could you repeat your sixth attack again?
Sixth attack.
The first attack on DA2.
Second attack?
First attack.
First attack. The reason care workers are working is like contributing for the society or they make improving their skills. And actually 57% of people answered that they want to contribute for the society, but no one answered that the reason is earning money. And your evidence is...
Okay, thank you about that. And please repeat the next attack too. The second attack on DA2.
So care robots can cover the shortage because...
Okay, so you talked about care robots, right?
Yes.
But what's the introduction rate right now?
Introduction rate. But actually, as we said in our 82, those kind of robots is actually surely increasing. Even though some robots are replacing.
Okay, thank you for your
jobs.
answer. And about your 8th attack, your last attack, so you said that the number of care workers are easy to increase and decrease, right?
Yes.
So do you admit that the care worker is an unstable job?
No.
No?
Yes.
So care workers the labor force of a care worker is really unstable, right?
No. It is easy for people to get the qualification of care workers.
Okay, thank you.
Question time has ended.
両チームとも非常に多くの点で相手の議論の弱点を突いたり矛盾するデータを指摘するなどの反論ができており聞き応えがありました。特に肯定側は本当に問題が起きるのか、そして問題が起きたとしてもそれは深刻なのかという2つのレベルで反論ができていました。こうした反論を組み合わせることで再反論を複数のレベルで行わないといけない状況に相手を追い込むことができます。また肯定側は相手の Disadvantage 2への反論では介護労働者についての議論に関して反論する際にも肯定側の AI やロボットについての議論を組み合わせることで全体として一貫したストーリーができていました。一点だけこのアタックで補足しますと、アタックでは相手の議論の主張するアドバンテージやディスアドバンテージの証明の弱点についてだけ反論することが許されています。で、そういうルールがある理由なんですが、アタックでは相手の議論を真摯に吟味する役割の学習をしてほしいからです。で、大きな自分たちの争点の提出は最初の立論者の仕事となっています。否定側は肯定側の言うような AI や自動化の進んだ未来についての議論について、もし本当にそうだったとしたら税金が足りるのかということはアタックで問題にしたかったようです。AI や自動化の進行が仮に止められず失業した人間が本当にたくさん出るのならば実際には税収が足りなくなってしまうかもしれません。しかしこういったタイプの議論はこのルールでは立論で証明しなければいけない議論となっています。つまり議論の序盤からできるだけいろいろな相手の議論のパターンに対応できるようにしていくことは結果としてアタックなど終盤に議論を行う際にも重要な布石となっています。では試合の終盤と好評を続けてご覧ください。
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative defense speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eisuke. First, about attack for plan. They said that taxpayer will decrease, so tax revenue will also decrease. But in the first place, by the definition, attack for the plan is prohibited, so you should not take this point. And moreover, the decreasing of population means that decreasing cost of income, so it is not problem. As for the AD1, in the first attack point, they said the single mother family cannot live after taking this plan, but this attack completely depending upon their DA1. But as our attack speaker said, their DA1 cannot stand. And also they said living expenditure is 190,000 yen. But actually, as we have said, according to the Ministry of Health, the current cost of social welfare is 140,000 yen. And actually, welfare recipients can live with cost. So we can see that 140,000 yen is enough. And this evidence is from the governmental office, so it is more reliable. And second attack point, they said the number of suicide is decreasing. But at this point, they never proved whether this situation continue or not, or whether suicide will disappear. And if we assume that suicide is decreasing, even now 4,000 people commit to suicide. Still, it is huge number, so we should take this plan. And as for the AD1, our impact is not only suicide, but also starvation, or the people who cannot go to the hospital, or in the first place, 68% of people cannot receive any welfare. So our impact is clearly standing. And third attack point, they say stigmatization is not a problem. But according to the Japan Lawyer Union, the most of reason of current current low capture rate is due to stigmatization and difficulty of application due to public service reluctance. Japanese law institution is the institution which continues studying our welfare system, so our evidence is reliable. And also they said child allowance can cover the cost for living, but they never ever explained us why it is enough or how many people can get these support. And in the first place, as we have said, because current system is not enough, actually many people die. So this attack cannot stand. And as for the AD1, in the first attack one, they said even if people lose job, they can get another job. But in the first place, as our constructive speaker said in the AD2, even now the technology is replacing the job. And also in the future, we can estimate that this automation system or a lot of AI will replace the job. According to the Tsuruaki Yukawa, who is a journalist of information technology, AI is different from other technology because it can exceed the human ability. So AI will immediately replace new jobs which will be created in the future. So the people will surely lose job and they cannot get another job. And second attack point, they said the people can get support from their family. But in the first place, family's income is completely depending on workers. But as we have said in the AD2, worker will lose their job. So in the first place, they can never ever get the support from their families. And third attack point, they said it is very unclear whether the company has enough cost for technology or not. But as we have said, even now this technology is replacing job. And moreover, according to Rethink Robotics, currently AI is expensive, but we can make it dramatically cheap in the future. So we can estimate that in the future that this technology will replace huge amount of jobs. And as we have said, current system can never ever support these people because it is limited for only 330 days. So we should take this plan and we should change the welfare system. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear the negative defense speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yui. In the first stack, they talked about the minimum living cost will be afforded by basic income. However, their calculation is only by single mother who have 2 children, and we actually calculated it again, and the average number of children they have is 1.6. In this calculation, by basic income, they can only receive 205,000 yen of basic income, and the minimum cost of living is 230,000 yen. So by basic income, single mothers will not be able to afford the minimum living cost. And second, they said about So the people who receive is the 98% is not correct. However, I'll explain again. So according to Ministry of Health, there is 15% of single mothers who have no job, and 14.4% of single mothers receive public assistance right now, which is 98%. And it's more natural to think non-employed people receive public assistance than to think people who work also receive it too. So we can surely say 98% of single mothers who don't work receive public assistance. And third, they said there is 94,000 yen of exemption which will not be abolished after taking this plan. However, we checked their evidence and it does not say that all single mothers receive these kind of expenses. And as we said in our constructive speech, it is clear that there are 40,000 yen of exemption and other housing allowances that will be abolished after taking this plan. The 94,000 yen will not remain and single mothers will not be able to make their living. And the fourth, they said that Ms. Shinzo Abe will introduce a new scholarship. However, this means that the present situation will going to be okay, so we don't need to take basic income to take risks, additional risk to support these single mother families. That's why we should keep this situation. And now moving on to DA2. In their first attack, they talked about the reason why care workers are working right now. However, according to Care Work Foundation, it is true that 52% of care workers choose the job because they thought it was a meaningful job and it was a good job. However, after they started working, most of these thoughts can change because according to National Confederation of Trade Unions, first of all, almost 60% wishes to quit the job, and 23% of the reason was because they felt it actually wasn't a meaningful, accomplishing job, and moreover, 40% felt too busy, 30% suffer from exhaustion. So many people can end up quitting job besides the first impression and the impression while they're working. And 7, they talked about robots. However, but it cannot replace care worker job. According to Kanagawa Welfare Service Promotion Group, people expect hospitality more than efficiency. So robots are not welcomed, and care workers don't have that literacy to use such complex robots. And as we saw in their evidence, the company don't have enough money to introduce robots, so care robots will not be introduced. And 8, they talked about the unstableness
it's easy to get the qualification to be a care worker. However, according to Care Work Foundation, nearly 41% of care workers who have qualification to work as care workers decide not to work as a care worker. So the easiness of getting a qualification doesn't mean that it's easy to capture more labor force of a care worker. That's why we should not take this ban. Thank you.
Preparation time has ended. We will now hear the affirmative summary speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Sorry. Okay. So, thank you, Chair. Sorry. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masa. First of all, I'd like to refer to the 82, talking about the care workers and why it's not actually, sorry. I'd like to first of all talk about their D82 and why it's not actually standing. Yes. And next, I'd like to talk about our 82, about the artificial intelligence and how the safety net should act for the future. And last of all, I'd like to talk about which can save more people in the future. So, first about their DA2. So the DA2 is saying a lot of care workers are going to quit and how these people are going to actually be, suffer. But first of all, we have told you that the care workers are actually going to, care robots are actually going to be introduced. And 80% of the people actually answered that the burden has lifted and the care robots are going to do easy work, not actually do those hard work that need to be done by their care workers and are going to be done face-to-face with those care workers. And that's what we have told you in our attack speech, which means they said that they need hospitality, but that doesn't really matter for these care robots. And these care robots can be introduced, so their entire DA2 doesn't actually stand because the artificial intelligence, as we have said in our AD2 also, that can actually replace those people, and their probability of the impact happening is extremely low. Next, about our AD2, about safety net for the future unemployment. So, they continuously ask us how much of it is being introduced right now. But however, we are asserting that the now doesn't really matter because we are talking about the future and how it is going to happen also. Actually, if they want the data right now, we have told you that actually 16% of the manufacturing workers have been unemployed because of the automation in the past 10 years, and 60,000 workers were replaced in Foxconn for a single piece of software. That is what is happening right now, and the government is estimating that 7.3 million jobs will be unemployed in the future inside of Japan. And also, we have also explained to you that these jobs are going to be hard to replace by humans again, and these jobs cannot be replaced by humans again, and more jobs will not be replaced. 5 million workers will be unemployed according to the World Economic Forum. That is a reality, and unemployment is going to be a serious problem because first of all, they're going to lose the lifeline to support their families, which means they cannot continuously live inside of their families. They have no money for life, they have no money for food, electricity, water, and all of those stuff. And actually, during the Lehman shock, 70% increase in the suicide was caused by this unemployment. Only the status quo only supports them for 330 days. We need a sustainable system that can save them for even in the future. Therefore, we need AD2 or basic income. Last of all, which can save the single mother, which can save the weakest people in this society. So they're talking about the single mothers, but we have told you that the insurance cost support for resident tax and medical assistance is going to account for 94,000 yen. And continues, and adding that up with the 205,000 yen that they calculated, that's 299,000 yen. This can totally cover the amount for the single mothers. So the impact is extremely, the probability is extremely low, and they never explain the seriousness of this. However, in our side, in our AD1, we have told you that the 68% are suffering because they have no one else to rely on other than the government, and they're suiciding because they have no other way to live. No welfare means no money to live for the food, shelter, or other stuff, and they are not actually being discouraged to work by the stigmatization or the regulations. That is why we are saying that we should introduce basic income. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear the final speech of this round, the negative summary speech for 3 minutes. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Sorry, just a moment, please. Okay, I'm ready. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Suzuki. I'd like to summarize this debate. First, I'd like to explain the weak points. on 81, they talk about poor people, but it's very weak because at first, present situation is very unclear. The evidence is too old, so they couldn't prove that how sure is the present situation. So why we need a basic income is very unclear. So we don't need to take this plan. And as our speaker says that our basic income is not enough to live. It's under the minimum cost of living. So even if we take this plan, impact is very low. So the 81 is very weak. And 82 are data about safety net for future unemployment, but it's very unclear because they say that after this plan, robots will cover the industry work, but it's very unclear because their evidence and they can prove that our company can surely produce the robots because their evidence just said government will provide some money for some company. So their evidence never shows that after this point, industry company will surely use the robot and many worker will be quitted. So it's very unclear. So their possibility is very low. So their plan doesn't stand. And on the other hand, our plans are strong. Let me explain. Read on the one we talk about single mother families. They say that single mother will not suffer. However, by basic income, it cannot fulfill 230,000 yen of minimum living cost, and the remaining exemption will not work to everyone. And now, single mothers depend on public assistance to live because they can receive about 260,000 yen of supporting money and 40,000 yen of tax exemption. But basic income is provided less than the present situation. So if we take this point, our single mother will have to live in a harsh life suddenly, and it is very serious for us because poverty parents tend to be passed down to their children. It's strange that children's future are decided by their parents' situation, not by their efforts, and children cannot get enough. So children will be poor. That means Japan will be weak. So it's our problem. So we should not take this plan. And on DA2, we talk about the elderly, and this situation is very serious because even now, family cares of family, the elderly living alone, and family cares of their family is very serious problem, and elderly living alone does forget or care from work lose care. In addition, it leads to elderly killing elderly, which leads to even moderate case. So this is concrete damage. So we should not take this plan. And as you know, Japan is aging now. So it is our problem, not only elderly people, because in the future we will be surely elderly people, and in that time, if we take this one, there are no care workers, so we cannot get our care. So it's very serious, and in conclusion, so the elderly don't need money; they need a care worker. So and the money starts holding meanings when there is something we can spend on. There's no worker. Even if we get money, it's not efficient. So we should not take this one. Thank you.
Thank you. The debate is now over. You all did a great job.
Okay, so we're the last round, so I want to be very quick. But first I want to say thank you to both teams for an excellent and entertaining debate round, so thank you both. And I also want to thank the audience for being here and for being a good audience and listening carefully. Now, a few short comments that I want to say. So I want to say some things, some advice to both teams, and then some praise for both teams, for the audience, the things that you can practice in the future. Number one, I want to encourage both teams to think about the sort of bigger picture. And in this case, I mean a lot of the impact, a lot of the harms of the debate are about, we talk about the harm to each individual, so the harm that each individual feels, but we want to think about, as we're making policy, we want to think about the harm to society. So you want to think about how each individual harm hurts Japan or the world as a whole. You want to try to make those impacts a little bigger. And second, just a little bit, I want to encourage you to try to organize a little better when you're speaking. There are times when the debate kind of goes up or down, and so it's a little hard to follow where you are. But really good things. So what I want to encourage everybody here, this debate did a very good job of doing what I'd call second level argument. That is, we didn't get just one answer and then it's repeated and repeated. We got third level, we got an answer to an answer. So the debate continued through the defense speech. For example, the number of suicides, and then we're told the number of suicides is declining, and then we're told that that it may not continue, and that there were other harms as well. So the debate didn't stop after the first answer, it continued. So I think that's something good. Also, they did a fairly good job of doing what I call tagging. That is, they explained the argument before reading the evidence. And then, so usually we want to have a tag, explain the argument, then evidence, and then, if you can, explain why it's important, right? So we don't want to say, my first answer is, the Yomiuri Shimbun says, right? My first argument is no impact. Yomiuri Shimbun says, so that was a very good thing that I think both teams did in a very praiseworthy fashion. Now, I'm sorry, I'm talking a little quickly because I want to try to finish quickly. In this debate, I think this was a good and well-argued debate, but I think it ended up being a relatively clear debate. I want to say, again, thank you to both teams. I think all the judges were in agreement, so I want to explain very briefly. In part what happened, so Advantage 1 and Advantage 2 are much the same in this situation, which is that the negative is making what I would call press attacks. They're trying to reduce the probability or reduce the impact, but not make it zero. So they're smaller, but they are still remaining. Whereas in the case of DA1, the affirmative is actually trying to, what we say, take out the link. The affirmative is arguing that there is actually more money than is required, so there is no harm, or there's no impact to disadvantage 1. Technically, there's no link to disadvantage 1. And disadvantage 2 elderly, again, is a little unclear, but I think the idea of robots replacing workers, which is established in AD2, when applied here, does a relatively good job of making that seem nice. So, yeah, now I have to finish. So I want to encourage everybody, this is a wonderful debate. It's a little sad future, I guess, because robots will be replacing all of us, but we will all have basic income, so that's okay. We'll have robot judges and robot debaters. So again, thank you to both teams. It was a wonderful debate. I enjoyed it immensely. I think all of the judges would agree. And this decision was a 5-0 decision for the affirmative.
愛知淑徳大学のダン・モルデン先生のコメントをお聞きいただきました。先生のコメント通り、結果としては5対0で肯定側の勝ちということになりました。アドバンテージ1で述べられた、より多くの貧困家庭が救えるという論点も通りましたし、アドバンテージ2の AI やロボット化に伴う失業対策についても肯定側の言い分が通りました。それに対し否定側のディスアドバンテージは可能性としてもかなり厳しく判定されただけでなく、何より起きたとしてもどれほど深刻なのかあまりジャッジには伝わらなかったようです。モルテン先生の講評の最後のジョークは大変面白かったですね。AI のために多くの人々が職を失い、国から BI を支給されることで食いつないでいく。そういった悪いダジャレのような悪夢の世界が我々を待っているんでしょうか。そのうち AI が英語ディベートまでやるようになるんでしょうか。個人的には将来 AI がさまざまな分野で社会に活用されるようになるにせよ、外国語やディベートができる AI の出現はまだまだ先だなと考えております。ディベートをやっている高校生たちはAI の出現によって失業するなどということはまずなく、将来 AI によって弱者が発生しないように社会を構想する側で活躍してくれると、そう信じております。決勝戦は肯定側、千葉県松林高等学校、否定側、栃木県立宇都宮高等学校の対戦となりました。 皇帝側の少林高校は初めての決勝戦となりますが、昨年のチームも上位に食い込んでいますし、ブロック大会などでも活躍した高校です。対する否定側の宇都宮高校は3年連続での決勝戦進出という超強豪です。決勝戦は両校の実力が十分に出た素晴らしい試合となりました。試合前の楽しい自己紹介も含め、じっくりご覧ください。
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Fia. I'll be doing the constructive speech for the affirmative side. It's a great honor to be able to come to be in this national finals. I can't believe I'm here. I'd like to thank every single person in this room for making this competition possible. Thank you, judges, for judging this last round. I'd like to do my best. Thank you, Utsunomiya High School, for debating with us. I'd like to do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson and audience and judges. My name is Kano Matsunaga. I'm the affirmative attack speaker. And thank you, Utsunomiya High School, for debating with us. And thank you, judges, for watching our debate. It is an honor to be able to participate in such a high-level debate tournament. And I'll do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, judges, and Utsunomiya High School. I'm Aika Miyazawa. I'm the defense speaker on the affirmative side. I also want to thank Ms. Bruni and Mr. Imai, our coaches, for supporting us for so long, and also all the shorting members here who supported us for like a year with this through this debate and researching with us. Thank you very much. I'd like to have a fun debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Sola. I'm the summary speaker from the affirmative side. First, I'd like to say thank you for everyone in this room, and then I hope that I could be the good friend to of everyone in this room. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have brief introductions from the negative side members, please.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Yuta. I'm constructive speaker from negative side to prevent introduction of a basic income. I'll do my best, and I want to make friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges and audience. My name is Mashu, and I am the attack speaker from the negative side. I really want to say thank you to all of the fellow members who have supported us, and all of the teachers, and all of the other teams in Tochigi Prefecture. And our fellow members that didn't sleep last night because they have prepared for this round all night long. So personally, I want to give basic income for them, so I want to be on the affirmative side, but since we're on the negative side, I'll do my best.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges and audiences. My name is Eisuke. I'm defense speaker from negative side. I am now really nervous because it's my first time to come to grand final of debating tournament. But anyway, I will do my best, and I want to enjoy this match. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mas, and I'll be the summary speaker for the negative side. So the goal in this debate is to make friends. However, we already happen to be friends, so I believe this is going to be a friendly match, and maybe they're going to let us win? Maybe? I'm just joking. We're going to do our best. Thank you.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Sophia. I'd like to begin my speech. Plan. We will provide 140,000 yen for adults and 50,000 yen for all minors. Income tax will be flat 30% on people whose annual income is over 3 million yen. Inheritance tax will be flat 50% on financial assets. Consumption tax will be 10%. We'll use the current welfare budget without nursing care and medical costs. 81. Cover education costs. Present situation. 1 in 6 or 2.7 million Japanese children live in poverty. Current policy does not help families cover the cost of education for both primary and higher education. Public spending on education is the lowest of all OECD countries. Individuals pay 70% of the higher education. This makes it difficult to afford school expenses and materials, which leads to desperate measures in household debt. For example, in 2013, a 13-year-old girl prostituted her body to buy 5,000 yen indoor school shoes. Over 57% of high school students borrow money. Less than 20% of low-income students go on to higher education. They take up low-paying, non-regular jobs and pass poverty on to the next generation. Effect. After the plan, children can get 50,000 yen a month. According to MEX, public education from kindergarten to university costs 10.8 million yen. All children will receive 15 million yen in basic income from birth to age 22. All families will be able to afford public high school and university. According to Nippon Foundation, if the government addresses child poverty with a program like basic income, the number of children who go on to university will increase from 34,000 to 62,000 every class. Regular employees will increase from 81,000 to 90,000 for every class. This will make their income increase 3 trillion yen. Importance. According to the Cabinet Office, quote, child poverty is an issue that affects everyone, unquote. There is a huge economic impact if we leave child poverty unaddressed. Children raised in poverty are at an extreme disadvantage in terms of medical care, meals, schooling, and prospects for higher education. According to Japan Foundation, by covering the cost of education and improving opportunities for low-income youth, the government will gain 14 trillion yen in taxes and economic activity for every graduating class. We must improve the opportunities for youth and quality of future labor force and society. Basic income will stop the cycle of poverty. We must take this plan. 82. Safety net for all. Present situation. The current welfare system is not efficient. Government money never reaches millions in poverty. According to National Audit Bureau in 2015, over 100 billion yen set aside to improve the lives for low-income citizens was not used. Yet Japan is the only OECD country where the poverty of working households increased after benefits and taxes. There are at least 20 million people whose income is low enough to receive public assistance, but only 2.2 million receive public assistance. 19.1 million working poor are in need of assistance. This inefficient system is a problem because it pushes poor to death or suicide. For example, in 2012, 2 sisters in Hokkaido were denied public assistance 3 times and died from starvation. In 2014, a mother in Chiba killed her daughter and tried to kill herself after being denied public assistance. Government money could have solved these people. Effect. After the plan, 100% of citizens will directly receive basic income. According to Professor Yoshinori from Kyoto University, since basic income has no means test, no one will leak from the safety net. Money set aside to help people will not go unused. Because of all people will surely receive 140,000 yen a month directly, the maximum amount of public assistance. Their annual income will increase by 1.7 million yen. Basic income will guarantee all people a minimal standard of living and more options than suicide or starvation. Importance. Japan has the third largest economy in the world. We could take care of each citizen if we redistribute wealth properly, but we are failing to provide a safety net for 20 million people in poverty. Simply because of inefficient programs, citizens suffer. According to the Ministry of Health, 5 people starve to death a day, 1,800 a year. In 2014, over 4,000 people committed suicide for economic reasons. We must not create more victims of the government inefficiency. The most effective way to help these people is to change the current assistance and provide universal basic income. This problem is urgent and serious. We must take this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masa. So first of all, to your plan, are you going to distribute enough money for hobbies by basic income? Hobbies.
Yes, we will give 140,000 yen to all citizens, so...
I'm asking you, are you going to give enough money for hobbies too, by basic income?
What do you mean by hobbies?
Well, what I want to say is, it is included in the cultural minimum life inside of the Constitution. Are you going to guarantee that or not?
Yes.
Okay, please show us that evidence later. And Tier 81, so are you talking about university?
Yeah, both, not only university, but the education until university too.
Okay, and did you say something about scholarships maybe? I couldn't hear all of them.
Yes, the current scholarships are bad because according to NHK, 10,000 people had personal bankruptcy because they couldn't repay their scholarships.
Okay,
And
thank you.
This number has
doubled.
Okay. So, and you said in your impact that 3 trillion yen income tax revenue raise will happen. Am I correct?
Yes.
Well, how is this going to happen?
By the government providing and addressing child poverty, the government can gain 14 trillion. And more children will go to university, and more people will get regular jobs, and the lifetime income will increase. And because of that, from lifetime taxes and economic activity, the government can gain 14 trillion yen.
Okay, thank you. Please show us that process evidence later. And to your 82. So you said 20 million people's income is low enough.
Yes.
That doesn't mean they're qualified, right?
They are in the same situation.
Yeah, that they're not qualified, right?
They don't get public assistance.
Because, well, I'm asking you, are they qualified or not?
They should be, but they are not.
They're not. Okay, thank you. And what is the reason why they cannot receive welfare in the status quo?
Because the current assistance does not reach these people, even though they have the economy and the economy and the money to support these people, but they are not. And that is the problem. And that is why people are, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and Justice. My name is Yuta. DA1, financial burden. Present situation. Now, Japan has huge debt, about 1,000 trillion yen. 1,000 trillion yen. To solve this problem, Japan started a plan to reduce debt by 2020 and succeeded in reducing debt this year for the first time in 7 years. Fact. Basic income is never ever feasible in the future because Japan cannot collect enough money, affirmative side expect. First, affirmative side plan is going to use all tax revenue in the present situation for basic income, and they will not use any money for current services like national defense. So if we prioritize the other services, about 20 trillion yen will lack every year. Second, because of aging society, income tax revenue will decrease by 43% in 2060, calculating the data from Ministry of Finance. Third, affirmative side doesn't consider how serious tax evasion is. According to National Tax Agency, 80% taxpayer evaded inheritance tax in 2014 to 2015. Without enough tax revenue, Japan must issue more national bond. According to Nikkei BP Net Quote, Japan's capacity to digest national bond domestically is reaching its limit. Then we have to rely on foreigners. To encourage foreign investors to buy national bond, we have to raise its interest rate, unquote. Once interest rates start increasing, Japan will face huge risk of financial collapse. Professor Noguchi at Waseda University warns, if the interest rate reaches 4%, Japan's finance will collapse. Importance. Financial collapse destroys not only the poor's lives, but also every single student's life. In Greece, financial collapse increased the youth unemployment rate to 50%. In Armenia, suicide rate became twice in 2013. In Zimbabwe, medical system broke down as 68% of doctors left the country in 2009. Basic income is not feasible, just as Switzerland denied basic income because public finance will become extremely unsustainable. We must not take this plan. GA2, the shortage of care workers. Present situation. In spite of its severe working condition, most of the 1.7 million care workers don't stop working, but still, according to Zenloden, about 60% care workers want to quit jobs. The main reason is severe working condition. According to Libdon News, one care worker has to treat an average 50 elderly people a night. The situation is more serious for non-regular care workers, which occupy 47% of all, because according to Zenloden, their salary is on average 82,000 yen. 82,000 yen. On the other hand, the demand for care workers is rapidly increasing because of the aging society. According to Keishikaku Nabi, in 2025, Japan needs another 82,000 care workers to meet the demand. In fact, after taking this plan, care workers can get 140,000 yen without working. Then many care workers, about 60% who want to quit their jobs now, will stop working or reduce their working hours. Because our research in Ishikawa Prefecture shows 61% care workers are working just to make their living, and the amount of basic income is larger than their salary of non-regular care workers. So Japan will face serious shortage of care workers. Importance. The shortage of care workers triggers accidents and deaths among 200 elderly people who need care, especially poor elderly people. According to Diamond Online, in 2009, in one care center in Gunma Prefecture, 10 elderly people died because of a shortage of care workers. This shortage will create massive care. This shortage will create massive care refugees who cannot be accepted in care center and cause lonely deaths. They are the weakest people who cannot live without support, so we should not take this plan. DA1 is financial burden. DN2 is the shortage of care workers. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Salah. I'd like to ask you some questions. In your DA1, when will the final impact happen?
When? So certainly, if we take this plan, because as for care workers, they are sorry, DA1. So okay, so gradually our burden will increase, and at the same time it will happen. Sorry, I say exact time, but surely happen.
Thank you.
Sometime.
In your DA2, you said that care workers cannot quit jobs even though they are working in severe conditions. However, you said that they should not quit jobs. So did you mean that we should sacrifice these care workers?
No, but no, I didn't say such thing. Sorry, no, but but if we take this plan, surely elder people will surely suffer, and now our care work. I don't think that our care worker has so much burden. I think so.
Okay, thank you. And in your DA2, you used an example of Gunma, right?
Yes.
How could you say that Gunma's example represents all the Japan?
That is our case of the oxygen shortage, and so if our care worker shortage will happen, or maybe something will happen, same thing will happen. I can estimate, and this is the same case of shortage of care worker.
Could you say that the same thing will happen in Hokkaido or Okinawa or
why it is
Tokyo and so on?
Why I cannot say such thing? But why? Why we cannot apply? Or even though
Okay,
prices are different.
Thank you. But back to your DA1. What is the clear damage to citizens?
So bankruptcy of government means no support from the government and no educational support or no welfare support was very huge.
Thank you, Speaker. Please stop. Question time has ended.
両チームの立論を聞いていただきました。両チームとも証明という点では、本期のディベート論題で出された同様の争点に比べると、かなり洗練された高度な証明を行っていました。肯定側は第一のアドバンテージとして、とりわけ高等教育の恩恵に預かれなかった貧困層が BI によって教育を享受できるようになること、子どもに焦点を当てていました。第2のアドバンテージでは、現在の生活保護制度ではカバーされていない2000万人近くの貧困層に直接の BI による給付がされること、これによってもたらされる効果を論じていました。この2つのアドバンテージは証拠を多数用いて証明されていました。否定側の方を見てみましょう。否定側の第一のディスアドバンテージは財政問題です。BI が100から数百兆円という金額を毎年必要とし、やがて財政破綻を招くという反論です。第2のディスアドバンテージは BI により介護職の離職が起こり、結果として多くの高齢者が介護人の不足により被害を被るという議論となっていました。ここで一つ着目していただきたいのは、否定側に対する肯定側の質疑の時間にあった秀逸な質問です。否定側立論で、現在は介護職の労働者が辛い状況にあるのを BI で収入をもたらされると、そういった労働者は離職してしまう。それにより高齢者にダメージがいく。それが悪いんだという議論をしていました。 それに対して肯定側は、それではそんな辛い状況にいる介護職は、そうした辛い状況のままに放っておくべきだと言うんですかという質問を投げかけたのです。つまり視点を労働者の側に転倒する質問をしていたのです。価値というのは簡単に数字で測れるものではありません。誰にとってどのような視点度という枠組みを定義し直すことで、良いと思っていたものも実はそうでもないんじゃないのかという形で価値を転倒、value turn を起こすこともできるのです。肯定側はこの価値の転倒の視点を試合のこの後もずっと維持していくことに成功しています。では両チームのアタックをご覧ください。
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Mashi. I would like to point. First is about your 81. 1. No possibility about improving education. According to RIKI, 13,000 yen of child allowance per month can cover only about 10% of education costs. This means that 130,000 yen is needed for education costs. However, moreover, according to the President Online, the living cost for one child is 30,000 yen. So children's basic income about 20,000 yen is sure 50,000 yen is surely not enough for children to get education. So therefore, it doesn't stand. Second, basic income is not necessary. According to MEX, there is a scholarship system which we don't have to return money until we come to earn enough money. And in the present situation, over 490,000 students can use the system. And next year, the government is going to abolish the criteria of academic ability. Then it is predicted that all of the qualified poor students can get scholarship. So even without basic income, their benefit can be achieved. So their benefit is completely not unique. Third, no possibility about their education. According to Economy Lies London, only 38% of poor families said that they want their children to go to university, although 89% of rich said so. So even if we can give money for the poor, we cannot say that will sure connect to giving education. Moving on to the 82. First, no necessity about basic income. The purpose of REFE is different. According to the Ministry of Health, the goal of REFE is to promote financial independence by temporary support. At this point, A, present system is achieving its goal. What the government should do is to support extremely weak people who cannot become independent by themselves. According to the Ministry of Health, 80% of recipients are elderly and disabled people who really need support. B, basic income is against that purpose. By giving REFE even to healthy citizens who can work, basic income will increase financial dependency on the government. This is rather harm in economic crisis. We should think about sustainability because once basic income breaks down, it destroys all citizens' life. Therefore, we should keep the current system which is sustainable. Second, no possibility about safety net for all. Since poor people are lacking the knowledge about how to use money, only the money support cannot save them. According to Brown University, 77% of the poor people buy lottery tickets once in a while. This clearly shows you that distributing money cannot be the fundamental, only distributing money cannot be the fundamental solvency. Third, current system is working. Calculated from the data from Ministry of Health, in June 2016, 91% of applications are approved. And we can play application form from the internet. They say like many people cannot receive REFE, but they couldn't show like actually they are qualified for REFE benefit or actually they are applying for the REFE benefit or not. However, this evidence clearly shows you that if people apply and if people are qualified, they can surely get REFE. So as the system, there is no problem. 4, no impact. Almost all of death by starvation are not caused by poverty. According to Ministry of Affairs, only 2.1% deaths by starvation are caused because of lack of food, which connect to the poor directly. But 98% are caused by malnutrition, and malnutrition are caused by cancer and diet. For example, 80% of cancer patients die because of malnutrition. So the people can be saved by distributing money is extremely small. So therefore, it doesn't stand.
Thank you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Aika. So you have 7 attack points? Okay, in your first attack point, you said that basic income will not be enough for living expenses and education, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. In your second attack point, you said that they have scholarships. So you said 490,000 people are receiving scholarships. So how much money do they get in the present situation?
I thought that was 54,000 yen.
54,000. Okay, please show that data later.
Yes.
And you said that next year the government is going to introduce a scholarship that doesn't require the academic ability?
Yes, government is going to abolish the criteria of academic ability.
Okay, so how many children could get it?
And it is predicted that all of the qualified poor students can get scholarship.
Predicted?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And in your third attack point, you said only 38% of students in low-income families want to go into university.
No, only 38% of poor parents said that they want their children to go to university.
Okay, thank you. In your fourth attack point, you had 2 points. You said that basic income welfare is something that's supposed to keep them independent and help them be independent.
Yes.
Okay. And in your fifth attack point, you said that they don't know how to use their money.
Yes.
How could you say so?
Because actually, as I showed the evidence, most of the poor people are buying lottery tickets so often. So this clearly shows you that the poor people tend to use money for the
How much money are they using it?
Pardon me?
How much money are they using it for the lottery?
We can't say exactly about that, but actually because of that, the people.
Thank you. In your sixth attack point, you said that 91% of the applications were approved.
Yeah.
Where?
Why? Actually,
Where?
Where? In the whole Japan.
Okay, show that data later. In your last attack, when you said only 2.1% are from lack of food, and the rest of malnutrition is for like diseases.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you didn't attack the point about suicide, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Question time has ended. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Kanon. Our first attack point goes to their DA1 probability. They say Japanese population was decreasing, the income tax decreased too. However, that is not true because according to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the Japanese birth rate is rising. This shows decreased income tax won't happen. Therefore, DA1 probability is low. And second attack point goes to their DA1 probability. Revenue will increase. They talk about revenue will increase. Inheritance tax. However, according to Sankei Business, thanks to the My Number system, the government will know how much money or wealth people have, and it will be difficult for wealthy people to evade tax. In addition, according to ASEAN review, Japan has high income tax of made 75%, max 75%, is making rich send money abroad. 200 trillion in 2015. However, by basic income, we are going to lower income tax to 30%, so basic income can decrease evasion and increase revenue. Therefore, probability is low. And third attack point goes to their DA1 value. It is better to take basic income plan because according to Ministry of Finance, keeping the current social security system will create 145 trillion yen, a burden for Japan by 2025. Because of the aging population, the cost of medical care, nursing care, and social security benefits will increase. If we keep the current system, we have no secure revenue to support this. Basic income plan is superior because we secure source of revenue first and then provide benefits. Therefore, value is low. And fourth attack point goes to their DA1 probability. According they talk about economy collapse, however, it won't happen because according to Japan Times 2016, IMF economists have asked the Abe government to increase wages by 3%. They say that this would make everyone better off and the Japanese economy more healthy. This is because Japan needs at least 2% inflation. Therefore, it won't happen and probability is low. And fifth attack point goes to their DA2 probability. They talked about case workers. However, the basic income will increase case workers and it won't happen because according to Seikatsu Hogo, by basic income, there will be no necessity for care workers to worry about low wages. And people who wanted to do nursing care but couldn't do it will be able to choose nursing care because they can receive basic income and wage. This shows that basic income is a better solution to increase the case workers and help elderly. Therefore, probability is low. And sixth attack point goes to their DA2 value. They said that elderly will suffer from lack of care workers, but they said care workers are in severe working conditions. Why we have to prioritize elderly? They should explain clearly because there will be a benefit that exploited workers can quit their job. Therefore, value is low. And last attack point goes to their DA2 probability. According to Somusho 2016, 23 experts say that the basic income will actually fill in jobs that will be needed in the aging society. So we can say their lack will not happen. Therefore, because of these reasons, their both DA is low. DA is weak. Thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eisuke. First, you have 4 attack on DA1 and 3 attack on DA2, right?
Yes.
Okay. As far as DA1, your first attack point, you said currently the birth rate of Japan is increasing, right?
First?
birth rate of Japan is increasing, right?
Yes.
Okay, pretty sure savings. And
Okay.
second attack point, you said minor number system can prevent the tax evasion, right?
Yes.
And also you said by your flat tax system, you can prevent, so you can ease the tax exemption of income tax, right?
Yes. And we can increase tax revenue.
So exactly how much money we can save by that system?
We can save
Yes.
200 trillion in 2015.
203, sorry, is that your third attack point?
No, second attack point.
So, okay, thank you. And so please show us CVS.
Okay.
And in your third attack point, you said if we continue the current situation, the burden upon Japan will increase, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure, CVS later.
Okay.
And for the attack point, you said, so currently the Japanese economy is improving, so it is not a problem, right?
Can you say more?
You said currently the Japanese economy is improving, so it is not a problem, right?
Fourth,
Yes.
an economic collapse won't happen.
Okay, pretty sure Steven's later. And about
Okay.
D2, in your first attack point, you said, so after taking it on due, thanks to the basic income, care worker will increase, right?
Yes.
How many care workers will increase?
We want to say that basic income will increase case workers.
Okay, sure,
Surely.
Steven's later. And secondary, you said it will be beneficial for care worker because they can quit job, right?
Can you say one more?
You said care worker can quit job, so it will be beneficial for care workers, right? In your second attack on DA2.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question time has ended.
両チームのアタックをご覧いただきました。両チームとも素晴らしいのは、どこをアタックしているのか、そして相手の議論の何がおかしいのか、十分に説明してアタックができていることです。時たま初心者の試合ですと、アタックは数が多い方がいいと思って、よくワンラインアタックなどと揶揄されるたった一言だけ反論して何をどう批判したいのか結果として全く伝わらないアタックを並べ立てる、こういった作戦に出ることがあります。こういった作戦は実際には全く有効ではないんですが、この試合はそれとは対照的に双方ともアタックは7つぐらいに絞っていました。証拠なども引用しながらじっくり効果的に反論をしていた点はぜひ見習ってください。双方の激しいアタックへの反論がこの後どのように展開したのか、試合の終盤をご覧ください。
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Aika. In the first attack point, they said that basic income will not be enough for living expenses and education. However, first of all, in our 81, we're focusing on using the child's basic income on education. And second of all, they could use the parents' basic income for living expenses. And third of all, if we don't take the basic income plan, then the parents will have to pay for both in the present situation. So isn't it better to give money to these people? In the second attack point, they said their scholarships. However, first of all, according to JASO, only 8% of the scholarship types are non-mature types. So they're focusing on a very small. The majority are return types. And second, they didn't show any data. And third of all, it is still unclear if all 2.7 million children in poverty could get education. Could get the scholarship. And in third attack point, they said that only 38% of low-income students want to go to university. However, first of all, that is not true. First of all, that's not true. According to Max Code, over 20,000 people will be able to go to school if they have more money. And not only that, like we said, we could say for sure the number of students who go on to university will increase. According to Nihon Foundation, if we provide basic income, the number of children who go to university will increase 30,000, and the regular employees will increase 90,000, and the lifetime income will increase 3 trillion yen. So we could say that surely this benefit will occur if we take the basic income plan. In the fourth attack point, they said that social or welfare is supposed to be to keep people independent. However, public assistance is not keeping these people independent. It is actually keeping them in the cycle of poverty. According to the Komamura in the Japan Labor Review, all income earned by receiving public assistance is reduced. They have to sell their cars or houses. And as a result, according to the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, 25% of welfare recipients are single, second-generation households. This shows there's a cycle of poverty. This shows that public assistance is not helping people be independent, but actually keeping them in the cycle of poverty. In their fifth attack point, they say that 77%, even though we provide money, it will not be effective. However, first of all, according to CNN, the difference of poor and non-poor is just money. Second of all, we could say that they talked about lottery. However, we could say that if you provide basic income, people will not use money on such goods. According to the Cato Institute, the recent research of the World Bank reviews 30 studies examining the relationship between cash and temptation goods such as alcohol and gambling, and they showed there's no impact that even though we gave money to these people, the amount of money they use on temptation good did not increase. So we could say that this is not a problem. And the last attack point, they said only to the number of starvation is little and that it is not for money. However, first of all, what we want to say in our 82 is that currently the government has the money. It had 100 billion yen, but it didn't use it for people in poverty. This is showing that the current system is not effective and not saving the people. Basic income will use the government money effectively to help 20 million people who are suffering now. Not only that, they didn't attack the point that 4,000 people are committing suicide for economic reasons and that 20 million people are suffering right now. They were denied public assistance and they cannot help. And thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eisuke. First about D1. In the first attack point, they said currently birth rate is rising, so it will be beneficial for the Japanese economy. But in the first place, they never ever proven us whether we can this situation will continue or not, and how much money we can gain by this raising birth rate. So in the first place, actually in the present situation, Japan is facing Japan is facing the lack of labor force, and as we have said, in the future, actually the labor force will decrease. So please check this one. And second attack point, they said my nervous system can prevent tax evasion, but this is not true. According to JCast News, in fact, registering my number to bank account is not authorized. So if people are willing to evade tax, they can reject my number, and the government cannot know individual debt. So we cannot prevent the tax evasion. And also they said that evasion of income tax will decrease, but in the first place, they never ever explained us how much will be decreased or how it is beneficial for the Japanese economy. So this attack is weak. And third attack point, they said if we continue the current situation, some burden will be having upon Japan, so it is problematic. But as we have said in the construct speech, in order to secure this problem, actually Japan started a plan to reduce debt, and actually we are succeeding in reducing debt or the cost for the welfare. However, if we take this plan, the necessary budget for welfare will be near about 6 times bigger than current situation if we calculate. And then in this situation, if tax revenue will be damaged, we can estimate that really serious financial burden will be happening in Japan. So we should not take this plan. Fourth attack point, they said that. So under the current situation, economy is improving. But in the first place, we are totally considering that currently Japanese economy is good. But what we want to say is that after taking this plan, actually Japan's tax will be damaged, and then we cannot sustain the basic income, and then we have to issue much more bond, and it will be the serious burden on Japan. So we should not take this plan. About tier 2, in the first attack point, they said care worker will increase by the basic income. But according to Care Lab, the number of people who quit care worker due to low salary is only 17% of whole care workers. This means that even if we raise the wage, so they will surely quit job, because there are another reason why they want to quit job. So we should not take this one. And sixth attack point, they said that it will be beneficial for care workers because they can quit job. But in the first place, this attack point never ever weaken our process itself. So this attack is very weak. And moreover, in the first place, our economy or society is sustained by worker. And also, actually, many of workers are working even though they don't want to work. At this point, in some degree, we have to overlook the difficulty or pain of work. Because if we prioritize all citizens and admit to quit job, our society cannot work. So we don't think that current situation is so cruel. And seventh attack point, they said AI will replace the care workers. But according to Nomura Sogo Laboratory, even if AI is developed, some kind of job category is less likely to be replaced by AI. And actually, our evidence says care worker will not be replaced by AI. So if we focus on the field of nursing care, labor shortage will be a serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Salah. I'd like to summarize this debate. First, I think that that both arguments are represented really well. So let me explain why you should vote for us. First, I like to point out they're both DAs are weak. First, in the DA1, they said that the tax revenue will decrease. However, look at our attack point 1. They couldn't defend our attack point 1 effectively. That birth rate is increasing. This means that the government will actually gain more, and in addition, they have never regarded the government will gain 14 trillion yen by covering the cost of education for children. Therefore, the DA1 stands really weak and really weak. Next, in the please look at the DA2. They talked about lack of care workers. However, look at our attack point 6. They dropped this point. However, please consider that their DA2. When their DA2 happens, benefit will simultaneously happen. Therefore, their DA2 damage their own, but therefore their DA2 has completely lower value. Therefore, judge, do not consider about DA2. Next, let me compare entire value. First, please look at our AD1. They could not deny that the government will gain 14 trillion yen, like I said, and comparing to the DA1, the government will actually gain more than now. Therefore, our AD1 completely outweigh the DA1. Next, please look at our AD2. In our AD2, we said that people who are not receiving assistance now will gain benefit. So let me point out mutually exclusive in this debate. After the plan, all citizens will receive basic income, include people who are not receiving any assistance. This point is completely mutually exclusive, and this shows that our 82 probability is extremely high, and then more people will be supported by the government. So their situation is really serious because, like we said, that they're already dying by starvation and suicide, and they are, like I said, they're in absolute poverty. That's why our 82 is the strongest argument in this debate. Judge, please take our AD2 as the strongest argument in this debate. Then let me extend our argument. Like I said, in our AD2, we said that 20 million people are ignored by the government. So this means that the current social security system is completely broken. However, by taking basic income plan, the government will help them. This is the government role. We must take this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masa. In my debate, in this semi-summary speech, I'd like to first of all refer to the AD1 educational stuff and explain why it's not standing. And next, I'd like to explain about AD2 and DA2, talking about the safety net and the shortage of the care workers, and why we should not take this plan, looking at it from the view of the weakest people in this society. And last of all, I'd like to explain to you the main reason why we are asserting we should not do basic income, because it is unsustainable. So, first about AD1, the education. So their goal is to make a 14 trillion yen benefit by making those people go to university, high school, and all of those higher educations. The defense speaker admitted that doing basic income will be at least better. This isn't enough because it is admitting that they cannot go to university, they cannot go to high school. It is not enough, and the benefit will not happen. The defense speaker actually admitted this, which means the probability of this happening is extremely low, and the impact itself is also really low because the status quo scholarships can cover all this. Actually, 54,000 yen is actually given out in next year, so it can also be solved. And therefore, their AD1 has no uniqueness, and actually it cannot be achieved. Now let's look at AD2 and DA2. So, AD2 talking about the safety net. Yes, they told us that it's going to create the 25% second generation, so it's not actually working. But it never says that basic income will not make those people independent, because it will actually diminish this independency, which is going to lead us to the ADA1 importance, but I'd like to talk about that later. So, and the 91, they actually said that 91% of the applications are approved. They admitted this and they defended by saying that 100 billion was not used. But 100 billion yen not used doesn't mean that those people were not saved. It just means that they didn't actually need that money. So it doesn't mean that those people are not receiving welfare, and it actually means that 91% of the people did receive welfare. And whereas on our DA2, we have explained to you that these people will be systematically impossible to save because the shortage of the care workers will happen, AIs cannot replace these people, and there will be refugees because they cannot get those care workers. And they are going to die a lonely death, and accidents will happen, and this impact has not been attacked by them. Therefore, talking about the systematic sustainability, in the status quo, there is a system that can save them. However, after plan, nothing will exist to help those elderly people. Therefore, looking at the content of which can better save the weakest people in society, we should not take this plan. Last of all, the main reason why we're not going to support this plan. So, the reason is unsustainability is going to happen and bankruptcy will happen because the reason is, first, 80% of the inheritance tax evasion will occur, and which they did not actually attack. And first, second, they are going to use all current money for the basic income, which means 20 trillion yen is going to lack every single year. And third of all, the aging society is going to decrease 43% of the inherent income tax. This can all be unavoidable, and this is going to happen uniquely to them because first of all, they are going to distribute enough money for hobbies to every single citizen, whereas in our side, we are going to distribute it to those who are only in need of that. And okay, and at this point, even if both of their ADs stood, we still negate because bankruptcy is going to affect every single citizen inside of Japan. No welfare affects the 20 million people of the poor inside of their 81, and no services means no help to every single citizen inside of Japan. And if the sustainability, if it's not, okay,
Thank you
therefore
very
we
much.
negate basic income. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
ディフェンスと総括をご覧いただきました。両チームとも大変良かったのは、自分たちの議論に一つのストーリーを持たせるということを意識していた点です。とりわけ皇帝のディフェンスは、歴代の決勝進出者の中でも随一と呼べるほどのスピーチでした。相手のアタックへの個別の反論だけでなく、アドバンテージに共通するメッセージとして、このまま生活保護制度を続けても貧困の連鎖は断ち切れないという強力な原則論を打ち立てることに成功していました。否定側もサマリーでは BI は必要のない人にまでお金を配ってしまい、むしろ必要な人の一部に傷をつけてしまう、そういうストーリーをある程度出すことはできていました。改善点があるとすれば、ディフェンスなどでもそうした原則論などを打ち出し、一貫性を持っているということを示せると、より強い価値を持ったものとしてアピールできたかもしれません。試合としては、アドバンテージもディスアドバンテージも相手のアタックによって大きく削られてしまいましたが、そのうちのいくつかは確実に残っているという細かい勝負となりました。第11回の決勝戦の講評はトーマス・クラークさんにお願いしました。クラークさんはハーバード大学、コロンビアロースクールのご出身で、世界有数の企業の重役でもあり、弁護士経験もございます。超ご多忙な要職でありながら、日本滞在中に第1回大会から大会の趣旨に賛同してくださって、元ディベーターでもあられるご婦人のひろこさんとともにずっとジャッジを続けてくださっていました。現在は実はロンドンでお仕事をされていますが、お忙しい中、この大会のために自腹で駆けつけてくださいました。クラークさんの講評はディベートの細かい技術論にとどまらない感動的なスピーチとなっています。ぜひじっくり講評をお聞きください。
Okay. Your masking of ears was too late. Try once more. Hello, friends! Okay. Well, I am genuinely happy to see your happy faces. Did you join in the movement? Universal Basic Smile? Yeah? Now show it to a guest. Basic Smile. Okay. Obviously, some of you won, some of you lost. And in terms of debate matches. But as I mentioned before, when I announced the finalists, I have said that all of you are winners as long as you made friends and as long as you did your best. And I'm quite sure that you all did so. So let's give yourselves once again a big hand. And obviously, let's give all the teachers and all the guests and all the organizers a big hand too, because they are not doing this for some income. There is no basic income for them. So let's give them some basic applause. Thank you very much, Ibaraki. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to make my comment very short today. I will talk only about the general comments. I only have two things. Number one, I have watched a lot of rounds, not in this nationals, but in a lot of prefectures this year. I went to Wakayama. I came here in Mito. I actually went to Shimane and Tochigi and Chiba and Saitama and somewhere else. So I actually visited a lot of Tokugawa places like Wakayama and Mito. Oh, I actually went to Gifu, so I could have completed the Tokugawa cycle maybe. So what I want to say is that in spring, a lot of teachers complain to me that it's very difficult to debate on basic income. Our high school student can't. I didn't subscribe to the view. And I was right. You can debate anything the adults can do. So what I want to say is, there is a glass ceiling in this Japanese society made up by the grown-ups, that the adults set up the ceilings so that the high school kids cannot improve themselves because of the glass ceiling set up by the adults. We should break the glass ceilings. The high school students' potential is not what average Japanese can imagine. They have a higher potential. That's what the high school kids taught me this year. The second thing I wanted to say is, thank you for all your friendship. 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, I sent out a message that debate is not just about winning or losing. So let's have fun through self-introduction. Let's have fun with the other teams. And in just 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of schools kind of know that they can have fun. Obviously, high school students in Japan tends to be like following the Japanese rules that you can't do anything extraordinary. They have to follow the average ordinary lifestyle. So what I wrote in the message is that you can have fun in self-introduction. And what did we have to in this tournament? I was having fun listening to your self-introduction on your smiley faces all during the 2 days. So obviously, I have a message for you, high school students. There are some social norms in the average Japanese society to follow the majority. But you shouldn't do that. You should chase the extraordinary because you are extraordinary. That's all for me. So let me introduce the person who will give us the result of this final round. His name is Mr. Thomas Clark, and he and his wife, Hiroko-san, actually was judging from the first round of this HENDA tournament till the 9th tournament consecutively. They were living in Japan then, but they live now in England, so they missed the last tournament. But Clark-san actually came back to Japan for judging. He doesn't have any other work. He came here to judge you. Because I know that there are a lot of extraordinary people, but if I were to name one person who is actually a globalized person in concrete, I will name Mr. Thomas Clark. So, all of you, please be mesmerized by the comments from Mr. Clark.
Minasan, thank you very much. I am deeply humbled and honored by that incredible welcome from Chief Judge Yano. I am very undeserving of it, but I am grateful for the opportunity to stand here in front of you and give a few comments. If you will permit me, I would just like to make a few general comments about what I see as the great importance of this activity and this tournament in your lives and for you before getting into my specific comments on the debate. Chief Judge Yano mentioned my wife's and my longstanding association with this tournament, and it is truly something that has a very special place in our heart. In the first tournament when we did come, it was with our 4 children, the 2 of whom were really just tiny kids, and I remember the great kindness of some of the students at the school where it was held, basically babysitting them while my wife and I were running around to rounds. And that warmth, that friendliness has been a consistent aspect of this tournament for the decade that we've been involved in it. And I think, as Chief Judge Yano said, that is one of the most important values that I think you should always take away, the HENDA philosophy of make friends, because that is a central part of it. Another small personal note is that the way that I met my wife and many of my debate friends in Japan going back to 30 years ago was a man, sadly, who passed away a few years ago, Father Scott Howell. Some of the teachers here may remember him. He was, besides a Catholic priest of the Jesuit order and a professor of chemistry at Sophia, someone who spent much of his more than 35 years in Japan devoted to debate and kind of got me involved. And he told me something many, many years ago about his experience of Japanese English language debaters, which was that they had great spirit and that they were always trying to search for the truth and to search for values, and that this was an activity that was incredibly meaningful, and that I should really look upon them as being a great source of optimism for the future of Japan. And I've always thought that Father Howell was exactly right about that, because every time I've interacted with debaters at this tournament or elsewhere, I've seen that spirit. Debate, what's the value of debate? Why are you all here? Maybe someone told you that, oh, if I master English and if I go beyond that and do some policy studies and analysis that we learn in debate, it will help me get a good job. Well, the good news is that's true. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But is that the only reason to do it? No, I think there's much more, much, much more. Because in debate, you're asking yourself about basic questions. How do I determine what's important for me? How do I determine how to deal with the rest of the world? I mean, look at the world we live in. I'm, as Chief Judge Yano mentioned, based in the UK now after 15 years of Japan, and I can see, even in the last year, look what's happened. Brexit, increasing tensions with Russia, the elections in the US being a surprise to many people. Look over here in Asia. I mean, there are so many issues here, the rising provocations of China in the South China Sea, even in the Senkaku Islands. There's no way you can hide from the world. And as young Japanese, the ability to think strategically about these issues, to make arguments with others, especially in a foreign language like English, that's a skill you will need to have. And not only in geopolitics, we have issues with the environment. We have issues with technology and the interplay between technology and human life. How will you even address questions like, is it okay to clone human beings? What do we think about euthanasia? What do we think about the great, questions of our day around, what is human life? If it's only about your feelings and emotions, well, you may have some good feelings about those questions, but it's hard to share your feelings in a very rational way. What debate does is it helps you to frame those feelings using logic and appealing to some truth or value that's universal and can be shared with other people. So you, as young Japanese who will have to inherit all of these difficult issues, I feel almost relieved I'm getting old and won't have to deal with them so much for much longer, but you young people are the ones who are really the hope of the future. And I think this topic of debate, whether it's this year's topic or the others you've faced or will face, they will help you to think with logic, but also with passion, to search for that truth. So I hope that you see debate not only as a fun activity, which it is, not only as something which will contribute to your careers, which it will, but also as something that will help you to identify why you're here, why you should be living the kind of life you're living, and to do that in a way that combines feeling, spirit, and truth and passion with friendliness, and all of those values that I think Henda teaches us. So with that general comment, I'd like to move into something maybe a little more mundane, like who won the debate? And this debate was a very, very close debate. It was an excellent debate that was well argued by both sides, no questions about it. And we had a very clear advantage set out by the affirmative team around basically improving the access to education and covering it. Now, the great thing about this is that it's not a very simple thing in dollars or yen and cents, but it's the value of education. And it looked at what it would take to get people to get an education. It would be money, but it would also be the motivation. And where did this come up? In a great exchange that started in the Q&A and then was carried over into the negative. What would happen, if we give this money to people? Will they spend it on education? And, the negative team said, well, there's some evidence to suggest that actually, a number of people, wouldn't necessarily spend it on education. Only 38% of poor families even want their children to go to university. So they immediately are saying, well, it's not just about money, it's about attitude and sort of cultural perceptions maybe of the value of education. But the affirmative came back and had data, the Mexican card, and talking about the 20 million that will be able to go to school. And it seemed that there was actually a strong suggestion that even if there wasn't 100% solvency, that there would be a lot of people who would take advantage of that. And this is a great thing about debate, because it's not an either or. It's not like you win the point or you lose it. You win the argument or you lose it. Almost every argument in debate is about how much of it you win, how persuasive. Maybe even if you have 30 or 40% solvency on an advantage that's large enough, that's still something that can't be ignored. And so I think there was another aspect of this sort of prism, how we look at education. Will they go if they have the money or not? And also, what about the uniqueness? We have, for example, scholarships today. And I think the negative made a good argument that there were, in fact, some important scholarships which would be available and would take away the uniqueness of some of that advantage. But at the same time, the affirmative came back and argued that they weren't, in fact, comprehensive and didn't cover all stages of the education. So I think most of the judges believed that there was some significance to this advantage, but that certainly negative had done a very creditable job of reducing it. It was not 100% effective. Now, when we went to the second advantage, this was much more, I would say, broad, whereas education was one narrow focus of social welfare. The second advantage, helping the poor, was much, much broader. And this was talking about what is the best way to actually deliver social services and welfare. Is it the status quo that we have now, which is public assistance and the various plans that go along with that, or is it this new concept of the BI, which, as you probably know, is actually being experimented with, actually over in my neck of the woods in Finland, in the Dutch cities of Utrecht and a few others, and even some parties in the UK are proposing it. Now, it was very, I think, smart of the affirmative team to introduce evidence from a broader way of sources that said that this will really be about ensuring the delivery of those services, because there's a huge gap now in terms of people who would not have access to that, either because they don't have applications filled out for them, even though they qualify for it. And I think there was evidence cited, particularly from Kyoto University's Yoshime Sensei, that no one will be missed. That's one of the advantages in BI. In fact, that's the advantage that a lot of people internationally talk about. It'll take away the hit and miss aspect of it. But negative came right back and argued very well along several lines of attack that in fact there's actually other ways to solve it, that in fact 91.9% of applications are actually approved. And they gave other indications that there were ways to solve this, and over time people would get access to the money. But negative again came back and indicated that in fact there were still gaps in the system. And to go back to that point, it's never a 100 or nothing question. It's how much solvency is there? And even if there's partial solvency, that can still have some impact. Now, negative made another very important argument here that said, you know what? If you give money to people, how is that going to make them better off? And this is kind of an argument that we would call paternalism, which is if you just give people money, there's a chance that they can spend it on some vices, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever. But affirmative came back with some very good evidence backed up by policy institutes. In fact, there was a card read, I think, by the Cato Institute, citing that, based on a study, that there was actually very little impact where we saw the provision of these kinds of benefits leading to so-called temptation goods, and that in fact most of this money did go, especially at the low levels of income of the people receiving it, in the case of the poor, to actual needed life goods. So again, I think at the end of the day, we considered that there was some fairly substantial benefit to Advantage 2. Now, there's another thing about debate which is very interesting for me, which is it's never possible to sort of hermetically seal, the disadvantages that the negative runs from the advantages that the affirmative runs, and the best debaters are the ones who try to connect the linkages between those. And I think both of the teams here did a very good job of that. So to take an example, if we go to DA2, it was clear that the negative teams, I think, main emphasis was on the disadvantage of the plan being, disadvantage number one on financial burden. The biggest disadvantage here was that this was going to stress the Japanese state, and that over time, if they couldn't raise the money from tax revenues, they would be forced to go to the public debt markets. And of course, nowadays, since those are kind of tapped out in Japan, they might have to rely on foreigners who would, in fact, demand a higher interest rate. And they had a very good card from Waseda Noji Sensei saying that, if the interest rates prevailing on Japanese debt reached 4%, that would actually create a crisis for Japanese funding. Now, that's potentially a very powerful argument. But the affirmative came back and indicated with evidence that also cross-applied what they had argued in their second DA, that this actually isn't going to incur a huge amount of additional expense, because actually the plan for BI is about reallocating monies that are already being spent. And in fact, as affirmative said, the government already has billions that are not being spent because of people who are not getting benefits that they're entitled to. And when you think about the topic, this topic really isn't about spending a lot more money. It's about redistributing money through the BI as a system rather than through the current system. And in fact, as you know, the definition of the topic is that basically the BI will be done in substitution for or in lieu of the expenditures on public assistance and its associated categories and the ending of various tax exemptions. So what the affirmative was pointing out here was that this is about delivering services with greater efficiency and not necessarily about spending more money. So you could see even there was a whole line of argumentation linking what they were arguing in Advantage 2 to what the negative was arguing in Disadvantage 1. Now, on Disadvantage 2, shortage of care workers, this was a very well-argued disadvantage, I think, by both the negative and the affirmative. And certainly, since it led to some potential deaths or accidents and human life is involved, it's a potentially very significant disadvantage. But again, affirmative came back and pointed out that there was some real question around the solidity of the links between the facts that would cause this and the actual bringing about of those harms. And specifically, there was a lot of evidence presented around the fact that you would have monies provided that would allow people to actually continue being care workers. So this was, in a sense, turning the causality and saying that, no, BI will actually allow people who might be considering a career in care for sick or elderly people to do that. And so, again, we're not allowed in debate to do link turns, but we certainly are allowed to use them to mitigate the causation. And so I think in our view that took out some degree of the DA2's solvency by mitigating that link. But there's one other interesting thing about DA2 which illustrates another one of the HENDA rules, and that is that while link turns are generally not allowed, value turns are allowed. And the affirmative ran a very interesting value turn on the second disadvantage. The value presumably is that, you know, we should care for the poor and the old, and that's true. But they mentioned, but what do you mean? Is it okay to just conscript as if they're slaves, you know, the people who are working as care workers? I mean, do we have a right to just say, you know, you have to be doing those jobs, even if you're only doing it under duress? And they noted the evidence that in fact Negative itself had presented that these are sometimes done under very, very difficult conditions. And so they kind of turned the value and created a situation where under the affirmative plan, you actually would be perhaps enabling these care workers to do their job not out of some sense of desperation, but more because they were enabled by some additional supporting income, you know, to do the job and do it more of their own free will. So again, we see the interplay between the values and the links coming out in a very, I think, dynamic way, argued very well by both sides. At the end of the day, although it was a very difficult decision because these were two highly skilled teams who really did a terrific job that they should both be proud of, we did have to vote. And as I say, it was a very close vote, but the majority of the judges on the panel believed, after very serious consideration, that the affirmative values with regard to covering education and with regard to helping the poor outweighed the disadvantages that the negative had presented, and therefore Shoreen on the affirmative side is the winner of the debate. And I hope that all of you take away much to your heart from this wonderful weekend here in Ibaraki. Thank you very much.
クラークさんの公表の通り、優勝は皇帝側の少林高校となりました。票は3対2で割れた本当に僅差の試合でした。票数の上では準優勝となってしまいましたが、否定側の宇都宮高校も素晴らしかったです。過去の素晴らしい先輩たちともども誇りに思ってほしいものです。では各議論がどう評価されたかを見ていきましょう。アドバンテージ1についてですが、否定側からの奨学金についての反論などで減らされたとはいえ、確実に一部の貧困層の子どもたちは高等教育に進学する可能性が高まる、そういった評価が残りました。アドバンテージ2についても、生活保護の対象でない貧困層は貧困の連鎖から抜け出せる可能性が BI によって高まる、そういったジャッジの評価が残りました。対する否定側ですが、ディスアドバンテージ1については、肯定側のアタックの税収の再配分のやり方が変わるだけだという効果的な反論にうまく反論できていなかった点と、どれだけの確率で財政危機が起きるのか、それが高まるのかということが最後まで 不明のままでした。またディスアドバンテージ2についても肯定側のアタックで出ていました点、例えば要介護者も BI によってお金を持つことでケアにかけられるお金も増える。また何より介護職で悪い労働環境を現在強いられている労働者が BI を持って離職するということは労働者の視点から見ると決して悪い話ではない。そういった形で否定側は高齢者の問題だけを問題にしてましたが、肯定側は労働者の視点という別の視点を天秤にかける価値転倒、こういったことが有効に機能したことで、ディスアドバンテージはかなり削られてしまいました。よってより多数のジャッジがアドバンテージの方がディスアドバンテージよりも大きいと判定をすることになりました。
The negative it presented, and therefore Shoreen on the affirmative side is the winner of the debate. And I hope that all of you take away much to your heart from this wonderful weekend here in Ibaraki.
第11回の全国大会は千葉県の松林高校の優勝で幕を閉じました。変打の全国大会も10年が過ぎ、まさに第2章が始まりました。茨城での全国大会、とりわけこの決勝戦は第2章の幕開けを飾るにふさわしいものとなりました。クラークさんのコメントにもありましたが、2016年の米国大統領選挙やイギリスの Brexit などに見られるように国際情勢は激変期に入りつつあるかもしれません。またネットでのデマなどが横行し、政治家なども平気で嘘をツイートする世の中をうまく言い表した2016年を代表する言葉として Oxford Dictionary が Post-Truth 真理後の世界、真理が通用しなくなった世界という言葉を選んだということも大変気がかりな情勢です。しかしデマや嘘は短期間には勝利を収めることがあったとしても、長期間には証拠や論理の前で勝ち続けることは絶対にできないと信じております。英語ディベート活動はグローバルに通用する実用的で総合的な英語力を育みます。文献を読み、証拠を集め、自分のスピーチを論理的に構成して英作文し、相手の言うことを聞き取り、質問を発し、反論する。Post-truth、真理のなき世界というような世界にならないよう、英語という国際語を用いて、証拠と論理で真理に迫っていく人材を育てる必要性はますます高まっております。理性と事実を重んじるディベーターたちの友達の輪を広げていくことは、そうした人材の育成に間違いなく貢献します。この大会で活躍した彼らは私たちの社会の希望の星であり、関係者一同の誇りでもあります。2017年12月には埼玉県で第12回大会が開催されます。英語ディベート活動で培われる能力と、そして友達の輪は高校生たちにとって将来の宝物となることでしょう。ぜひ全国の先生方、生徒の皆さんがこの英語ディベートの Make Friends の輪に飛び込んでくださることを願ってやみません。See you in Saitama!